Hey guys, it's Melissa. So, just want to say I definitely miss all my followers, all my new followers that I've seen growing. Definitely repost me, definitely subscribe, definitely leave comments. I'm very interactive with my followers. I like to keep things like that. Because this has been definitely a journey and a struggle, and sometimes it's hard. No one understands it. Even I don't even understand it. Like, I want to cry, I feel so unbalanced sometimes in my body. So I get it to all my sufferers. If you suffer with PTSD, OCD, bipolar, for me, all that stuff is the same thing. Me personally, that's how I look at things like that, because it's still all a mental health condition and it keeps us disabled. But this message, what I wanted to discuss specifically, is in regards to regression. When we go through post-traumatic stress disorder, it's regressing us. It's storing our bodies. Whatever that trauma happened or whatever the case may be. Like we talk about the flight. What is it called? The flight. Trying to think of it. Flight and freeze, right? Flight and freeze. So, however you responded during your trauma is usually how you would respond on other incidents. See, for me, I froze up, so I'm always catching myself freezing up. In my body freezing up, because my trauma was so significant to me that it kept me in the freeze state. But what happens when we allow our trauma or our conditions to, what is it called, to cripple us, right? We become stuck. So you can even you start to live in a box, right? I can even feel myself in a box, like whereas though I don't allow emotions in and I don't allow emotions out because I'm so afraid. So I have this whole imaginary fence around me that's not even real, but that's to protect myself. Although I'm 34 years old and don't no longer need protection, but in my mind, in my body, it takes me back to when that trauma happened, and it then it creates all this fear all over again. See, what happens is with your body stores the trauma. So, and your body doesn't recognize time. You consciously know that this happened over 20 years ago, but yet your body is still holding on to this type of energy, and it doesn't want to release it. It's not ready, for whatever reason. And consciously, like, why am I worried about this? This happened to me over 20 years ago. Whatever. So what your brain is trying to do is create a fence to protect you. But in the sense of it protecting you, is causing more harm, because it doesn't want the incident to happen again. So then your brain starts to take on all these elusive things that it goes into a whole nother world. Whereas though all the negatives, one negative, and then you think of the worst possibilities ever, because that's how we're programmed, right? And unfortunately for people who got PTSD, it takes us on a whole nother world. Like, we're like, oh my God, that we become even afraid of ourselves. That is the most scariest thing ever. And I sympathize with all my followers that have PTSD, anxiety, like all that stuff is so hard. Like, it makes you literally cripple, and it blocks. Like, I can actually feel myself blocking emotions. Also, to my followers, who I want you to follow, get into Dr. Joe Dispenza. Definitely follow Dr. Joe Dispenza. He definitely elaborates on all of the things that I've been discussing. And he's a professional in this field. So he knows the impact that these things do. But he also knows the healing mechanism. See, we know we can research, be super educated, but it still doesn't take away what's in our bodies. So we have to do the work. We have to start meditating. We have to really start getting in tune with who we are. Because if we don't, then this program or on our minds is going to take control of us. And it basically, we're fighting against the program, right? That's what we're doing. It's like your subconscious and conscious is fighting. But he tells you why it's such a battle too. Because most of our thoughts are 95% subconscious. And then 5% is conscious. So it's a really hard battle to compete. That's Dr. Joe Dispenza communicated to me. I don't know how accurate that is. I'm just going off the numbers he said, but it makes sense. Because if you think about it, if you sit with yourself and document every time you had a bad thought or whatever the case may be, you keep track of it, right? Then you can see most of your thoughts are negative, and that's with a lot of people. It's across the world. But that's not what we want to do. We want to change the circuits so that way we can have more positive outbringing, right? So also what I want to discuss in regards to like freezing, in regards to regression. So what your trauma does, right, it takes you back to that time. So even though we're in the present, we're in 2019, if your trauma happened 20 years ago, rewind, guess what? You're going back 20 years ago from that same state, and then you're going to stay in that same position. Me, I realized I couldn't even accept any happiness, any laughter. I was just on a plateau. Like, I couldn't even absorb any type of good emotion because I was always on the fence. I was always on the guard. I was like, I didn't know what can happen, what can do it. And it played with me so many times. So it's just like, you know, those things are really scary. And no one can really understand because you're like, you may be looking normal, but nobody knows what's going on in your mind. You know, that's the scariest thing ever. Because then you start to be scared of yourself, right? That's what PTSD does for you. It regresses us. It keeps us back in that stage. So we have to learn, all of us have to learn how to stay in the present. And sometimes that's even more challenging because our brain or our body keeps us distorted in the past. And we can't prevail or have a full future if we are living in the past. We just can't. You can't move ahead if you're living backwards. Because then you're always going to be like this in your brain. And that's exactly what's happening with PTSD sufferers. It's like, I know this is happening. I know it. But I can't completely stop it, right? That's a lot. So what I've been doing as a coping mechanism, you know, sometimes I have days that I need to myself as well. But what I have been trying to do is like, I don't like routines. Because routines just make me feel real robotic. So what I've been doing now is like implementing like stretching. So that way I can like loosen up all of those tightness. And also with stretching, I have also been meditating. Also positive self-talk. All of the motivational speakers that I listen to as well. So things like that I've been doing to self-regulate myself. It's still been a battle for myself. I'm not going to sit there and say it hasn't. So really work on yourself. Really take the time to really work on yourself. I know it's not easy, but you're worth it. You know, we all are worth it, and we all are worth the fight. And that's what we got to remember, that we are worth it, and that we're bigger than this condition, you know. Hopefully one day PTSD won't never exist for no one. That's the goal for me. That it won't impact anyone ever again. You know, so PTSD is definitely a regression of us going backwards in time. Although we can't go backwards in time, but we give our power away, you know, to an experience, to a person, because it's whatever caused us to trigger us. It wasn't even ourselves. It was the PTSD was created from another person. Usually an experience that you have, or usually a person that made you feel fearful. And then it's like, well, who's in control of your life? That experience or that person? For me, it was another entity that became in control of my life. So now I'm learning how to take back my power, because I no longer want to be controlled by my past. I can't really fulfill, you know, my future if I'm living in the past. And that's with all of us. And I know it's hard. And I know it's mentally draining. Trust me, I know. But we owe it to ourselves to continue to fight, and to our families, and to find a cure for this, for our future. Because, you know, this is real. PTSD, anxiety, bipolar, it's a real condition. But hopefully one day it won't never exist. You know, like, that's what I hope one day. But definitely share your thoughts. Definitely share. If you have any questions and you want to learn more about me, that's fine. Let's make this more interactive. Let's make these mental health awareness more viral. Okay? Later, guys. Mwah.